Hello, I'm Paul Bartlett of Wood Turner here in Southwest Florida. I, I've been turning with epoxy finish for quite a few years now, and I always have a lot of leftover epoxy. I pour it in a cup and keep it, put all different colors in there, and someday I figured, well, I'll figure out something to do with them. Well, I finally found something to do with them, some of them, and this video is going to show you what I do and how I make them. But just a little heads up here in the beginning, these are basically the cups of leftover epoxy that I have. I have a lot of these. I probably have another half a dozen or more, and then I got a couple different sizes. And I'm continually making them. Um, so I basically have taken one of these and cut the bottom off like this. So this is the beginning of the project. These are the close up of the what I've made out of each one. This would be the top part of the cup, and what's left over on the bottom is the base. Right now I have a threaded rod in there, but I've ordered some brass rod. I'm gonna switch and put brass rod in there. So this is kind of what they look like, all the different colors of epoxy. I have I think I have five different ones here that I've made. So kind of these are just little epoxy balls that I cast that I made that I put on top. So as I said, the video that you're going to see now will show you how I made these. I use a Carter sphere turner to get accurate spheres inside and out. You'll see all that. So stay tuned. Okay, in the video you're watching, I use the Carter spear cutter, and you'll see me using it, setting it up and whatnot. But I don't talk much about it, so I thought I would just explain some of the features here a little bit and what I like about it. So this is the unit here, and the amazing thing about it is the range that you can cut spheres inside and outside with. For cutting the outside, you use these three holes here, or these three here. You mount your post in there, it screws up from the bottom. And then for cutting inside diameters, you put it in this front hole because your cutter obviously has to be out over the pivot point. But the range, I would say, is from 1 to 2 inches on diameter, inside and out, up to probably maybe, I don't know, 10 to 12. I haven't really put it in the max either direction, so I've gotten pretty small. So anyway, the it basically, here's the cutter tool that it comes with. It's a 6 millimeter carbide cup cutter, and it works great. It's small, so you get very few catches. And in the video, I was using a different kind of a homemade cutter that I mounted on an extra one of these arms I had, and because I had a negative rake scraper on it, and I thought it might work better, but I realized after I had already done the video that this cutter here cuts epoxy equally well. As good at wood or epoxy. So, and that goes into this arm here, and it was just a magnet in the end of that post, and it attaches to this screw, and then your adjustment is in and out, which is really probably the nicest feature on this. The easy adjustment. So, so when you're setting up, your pivot point has to be. This is a full half sphere, half a circle, and so the pivot point has to be right on the edge. Okay, so what happens is if you go all the way around like this, you got to imagine the cutter's way over here coming out. That you hit this, and your cutter hasn't exited here yet. So what you can do is you turn this, and they tell you can turn it up to 15 degrees, which I haven't had any reason to go further than that. I don't know why you would. And now when you turn the cutter will exit out here before you hit here. And it was the other great thing about it is if it's cutting a little rough, pulling the grain or whatnot, you can turn this cutter. You can see the flats on here. You got a flat on the top and one angled one on each side. I believe these are 30 degrees. And so what you can do is when you put that in there, you can turn it to one of the flats on either side, and it sets your cutter at 30 degrees. The only thing when you do that is when you set your cutter at 30 degrees, it makes a much smoother cut. But you would always have to make the cut in one direction, which really isn't a problem. In one direction, either from inside out or outside in, depending on which side you set your cutter at. And I use that a lot. It's for making a really smooth, it's like a shear cut, makes a shear cut. So that's basically how it works. And this, you move this stop, and this arm will come all the way out. You got that much, radius to work with here. And they've added there's another hole. They had two of these holes, so no matter where you put this arm, can lock it, because every time you turn, you have to lock this down. You have to, or otherwise it'll vibrate. So no matter where you are with this arm here, you can get this into one of the two holes and lock it down. So they kind of thought of everything. So that's it. Just watch the video and you'll see it in use. Okay, I have these all rough turned to the little over 3-inch diameter here. Now I'm going to drill a 3/4 inch hole all the way through, and that'll be my my registration, my working point from here on in. It keeps the balls that end up half spheres, it keeps them centered. going about 450 RPM. Okay, I'm going to just rough turn this 3-inch diameter, three and an eighth diameter. I'm just going to rough turn it before I put my sphere turner in here because there's a lot of extra material on the corners. I get rid of it, makes it a little bit easier. So what I made up these posts here with a 3/4 inch tight fit, where this will go in between. I have one for the headstock, one for the tailstock. The reason I went out like this with both of them is because to give my sphere turner room, rather than running into here or the headstock or the chuck. So here we go. Nice, tighten that down in there, nice and tight, so it don't slip on me. May still slip. I'll just tighten it up, and just going with this here just to get these corners off. It makes a mess. You'll see. I'm using a Easy Wood negative rake scraper. For epoxies, or at least epoxy I use, that really it cuts nice and never a chip, never a catch. I think different epoxies turn different, but for the one I use, I found the negative rake scraper to be invaluable. So, and you can also buy these cutters with a round negative rake scraper. They're aftermarket or probably a Chinese made, or who knows where. But you can, rather than buying the expensive ones that are made for by Easy Wood, you can get maybe 10 of these for I don't know, $30-something. So, and they seem to work good. So here we go. Okay, I think that's close as I want to get. Still got quite a bit to come off of there, but I'm not going to risk taking too much in one area. Okay, I'm going to set up my sphere turner here now. I'm going to turn the outside of this rough turned one here. So, remember the pivot point's the center of the bolt here, so we need to center this pivot point on my sphere as close as I can. If I have to, as I'm going along, I can adjust it a little bit, but I like to get it as close as possible to the start. And the way I set this up now is I try to see, I swing this around and I see 3/16 of an inch gap there to my flat end. And I bring it around this way, and I need to see the same thing on this end. So it's got to go this way a little bit. Okay. A bit too far. Okay, right there I'm just tight when I get to my flat, and I'm tight when I get to my flat here. That's what I'm looking for. So I'll back this off just a little. Tighten my thing down all the way here. And I think we're ready to go. Bring that in a little bit. A little more. Now let's see if I can cut anything there. So, all right. I'm going to take the knobs off of this now, so that's another setup. Okay, I'm going to turn the knobs off of this one now. I had I'm doing a different one here. This is the one I just took off. I had another one, and all I do is I sand down these nubs on a disc sander, just close, not too much, just close enough. And then I put them in here. Here's one that I had sanded the nubs down. So now I'm going to true it up with my sphere turner. Okay, I think that's good. Okay, for sanding, I'm putting these back in between the extensions here. That way I can get everything. I don't have to keep rotating it in the cup centers. A lot quicker, easier. I already did some 80 grit on there. I'm going to go to 100 grit now. Two thousand. Okay, 3,000 is where I'm going to stop. I really just wanted to see what I could do with this one. Just going to clean that off with a little alcohol. Now, if I were just making a sphere and I was going to finish it right up, right now I'd probably use some of the compound, I forget what you call it here, Yorkshire grit, fine Yorkshire grit, and maybe a little polish. But I'm going to just to show you here, I'm just going to spray a little bit of lacquer on there so you can see what it looks like if you would have just let it go with that and spray lacquer. You can see that looks pretty good. That's basically what I'm going to do with where we're going with these. The next step is I am going to split this in half and then cut the height of my half sphere down to where it should be. I'll explain that. See if you can. Okay. Stay tuned. Okay, the next step here is to split this sphere in half as close as I can. So what I've done right now, I have a 3/4 inch hole in here. That's going to get opened up to a 1 inch after it's split. So to find the halfway mark, I measure across here and I get 2 inches 9/20, and I take half of that and it gives me 1 inch 0.46. So if I can do this where you can see it. I just take a gauge blocks or something stacked up. This will be 1.5 inches, but if I come in from both ends, it'll give me, in between my lines will be the center. So I don't know if you can see it here. I'm just going to scratch a line on there. And then I'm going to turn it over. Scratch another line on there. And as you might be able to see, I've got 2 lines with about a little over 1/16 in between them. Right there. So that's where I'm going to put my parting tool, right in between those 2 lines. We'll adjust the height on these a little more accurately after I split them. I'll have a new number. Right now, I don't know if this will make any sense to you, but my sphere is, this sphere is 3 1/16 inch diameter. So I drew a circle, and I'm going to have a 1-inch hole in the end, which is part of what I wanted for my ribbon. And so my center lines, I drew another line 1/2 inch below, and bottom here I did 1/2 inch this way. So when you drill a hole, that's a 1/2 inch on each side. The center is 1 inch. And if you draw a line between any of the 2 points here, between centers on a circle, between the two 90 degrees is always 45. So by going 1 inch down here and 1 inch over here, this line across here is still a 45-degree angle, which is what you have to have when you're doing one of these streptohedron ribbons. Okay, so that's kind of an explanation of what I'm doing. I'll extend that line around so I can see it when it's turning. Okay. I have a 1/8 parting tool I'm going to use for this. Okay, now we have two halves. At this point, I'm going to just touch this on this sander just to flatten it out just a little bit, because this side's a little... Okay, I'm set up in my cold jaws here. We're ready to open this center hole up to 1 inch. Doing about 550 here, RPM. Because the hole now has opened up to 1 inch, and my height here I know is big, because I've got to take 3/8 or something off of there. So I have a new number, and now I want to make these both of these the same height, so that we end up getting that 45 degrees from this point to the edge of the hole to the edge of the bowl. So, okay, I've marked the height on here the same way I did before. I need a 9.937 from face of the hole to the total height of the bowl. So I just did the same thing. I set my spacers up. I set this down here and scratched a line on there. Now I've got a 1 inch protrusion here, and I'm going to just hot glue on this piece so that I can turn the height down, and we will turn the inside. Maybe I'll have to adjust the height again at some point. We'll take care of that when we get to it. So right now I'm going to put some hot glue on down in here. This is a Arrow hot glue gun. It's more of a professional style, I guess you would say, and it gets very, very hot. Way hotter than the less expensive guns I mentioned in some of my videos. So when I put this on, it actually will run right down off the side, so I have to let it cool before I can rotate. So I just put a big glob right in there, right on the top, and let it run down both sides, and just wait a minute or two. have the Easy Wood here, negative rake. I think this is a 2-inch radius on here. It's a very small radius. Seems to work pretty good. So, see, that cuts pretty good. Easy Wood, round, negative rake. I know that my bottom support post in there, it goes in about 1/4 inch, and it's radiused out already from a previous one I did. So I know that I use that as my depth of where I want to go to for my wall thickness. Okay, I think we can put the sphere turner in now. Some of you might, if you're a really good accurate turner, you maybe don't even need, well, you don't need a sphere turner, but I find that for the end project of what we're doing here, the wall thickness consistent in both halves is the most important part. So I feel more comfortable with the sphere turner giving me that equal wall thickness. And it still never is quite perfect, but it will work. Okay. Okay, I'm setting up the slow turner here now for turning the inside. When turning the inside, you move your post to this front hole, so you're out over the pivot point. I did off camera, I trimmed this edge down about another 1/16 of an inch so that I have the exact height here that I need, close to it. So now I know that from my paper here, the top of my bowl is 0.947, and that's 1/2 inch down from the pivot, from the center point. The center point is the pivot point, which is the center of my bolt here, to the sphere, and that's where I want to set my pivot point. I have 1/2 inch out from this surface here. To measure it, I just cut a strip of 1/2 inch here. I bring it down across the face and eyeball it up with the center of the bolt. Got to get that a little tighter. It's very close there. Just tighten that up. I'll look one more time here. Good. Okay. Now we'll just start turning the inside here to see how it's going to work. I think we'll start there. Should be able to go both ways with this one. About 1/4 of a turn each time. Okay, I think that's as far as I'm going to go there. That looks like about 1/4 of an inch wall. I've kind of came up to where the bottom is there. I'll check my wall thickness. .24. .2524. Okay, I sanded up 3000. I'm just going to put a little lacquer in there like I did on the outside. It looks pretty good. Let that dry a couple minutes. I'll take it off and we'll put the other one on. Okay, I'm going to show you how I assemble these after I've cut these in half on my bandsaw. So now I've got 4 halves, and to put them together, you really need 2 people. I'm just going to do like a dry simulation here, because when you do it, you use CA glue. I use the medium glue and the accelerator. So you have to hold them in place and so you get them just where you want them, and then you have somebody just give it a little shot of the accelerator, and that works better. If you try to do it yourself, it really doesn't work that well. So first of all, I take one, I put this little piece of blue tape on there. In this case, I take the matching one, and it goes on. It goes on like this, and you would do both of them the same way. Like just kind of line that up as best you can, like that. So now they're taped together. You can put the glue in there, put them back together. Just kind of adjust them where you want them, and then have somebody spray the adhesive on there. So here's the next one. Now you've got to remember, you have to do them the same way. If I would have put, see how I have that one? If I would have put that one on here like this, they will not go together. You've got to do them. You would think you'd maybe have a left and a right. You don't. You have both of them the same way. Here again, put a little piece of tape on there. Put this one up, line it up. Stick the tape. Okay. Now I would put just a little bit. I don't want a lot. A little bit of CA glue in there. I use the medium so it doesn't run. Bring it around, position it, and now have somebody spray the accelerator on there, and then it's done. So you have both of them done that way. I don't know if I can hold these in the position or not, but once you get, I'm gonna tape these together, the other ends together too. If I had somebody here, it would be easier. I would do it, but I don't. I do have another video where I do these out of wood. It's on the YouTube. You can look at it there, where I do assemble them up. They're made out of wood and they're much bigger. So this is not working out very well here. As you can see right there, that's basically what you've got. Okay. And when you glue the last two joints, you could glue one at a time, get it positioned right, and you will find that the next joint, the last joint, you may have to pull a little to get it in place, but you get it in place, run the tape on it, and have somebody spray the accelerator, and basically we'll end up with one like this. There might be some little, there probably will be some little steps on the inside or inside and the outside. So you need to uh, sand those off and get them smooth, sand it up, get all of them smooth. And then you can go ahead and you can sand the whole thing up through the grits by hand, just by sanding like this. And on the inside, I will show you. Okay, on the inside, I just I have a dowel with a split, a cut in the end here, and I just put my sandpaper in. Probably on the inside, you want to start with 120, just on any of those seams, and you can stick it in there and just use it in your drill, and you kind of slap sand that each seam in there, and you can work that up to the grits. I'm not sure you have to go all the way up to a 3,000, but just get it smooth where it feels good, and then uh, now you'll have everything sanded up to where you want it, as good as you want it. And now I take and I just put this thing on a coat hanger, hanging down from something, on a hook, a little wire hook, and spray it with several coats of lacquer, spray can, rattle can of clear gloss lacquer. I've been using the Krylon, seems to work all right. Krylon clear gloss lacquer, and it should give you something that looks like this. I did polish it up a little bit on the Beetle polisher afterwards. So, but most of the areas that are your seams. They have to be. You've already basically on the lathe. We already sanded and polished up the rest of it. So so that's how I do it. Thank you for watching.